Why are you crying, Mama? Erich's little face was pinched as he came into the bedroom. Hastily, she stuffed the photos under the pillow and turned to him. Ariella longed to see his open smile once more, but it had been a long time since anyone in their house had smiled. I'm not, my darling. I just had something in my eye. She smoothed his dark hair, and his big brown eyes looked up at her with absolute trust. He'd stopped asking where his papa was, but at night he insisted on sleeping in her bed and would whisper, You won't leave, Mutty, will you? She hated lying, and technically she didn't lie. She would not be the one doing the leaving, but she would put her darling children on that train if it were the last thing she ever did. She and the rest of the Jewish community watched with horror as each day it seemed the Nazis got stronger. The thugs in the brown uniforms operated entirely without check, and non-Jews just stood by and did nothing. Well, most did. People who tried to stop it ended up missing, like Peter. She'd sold everything she could sell, and now there was no money left. There was hardly anything to eat, and she gave Liesl and Erich what little she could scavenge. She knew she was weakening due to the lack of food, but she had no choice. Elizabeth's letter had come just in time. Frau Braun had handed the post over wordlessly, but with a hardness in her eyes. Ariella was used to that look now. Elizabeth would take them. She sounded nice and kind, and explained that she no longer lived in Ireland, but in the English city of Liverpool. If Ariella were happy with the children going there, she would be glad to offer them a home for as long as was necessary. They would leave Thursday night from the Leerter Bahnhof. It was Tuesday, and she would have to tell the children that night. Try as she might, she could not find the words. Every explanation she came up with died on her lips as she rehearsed over and over in her head. She had their suitcases packed. The organisers were very specific, 1 small sealed suitcase each and no more than 10 Reichsmarks. That particular rule didn't apply to her, as she had no money to give them. She embroidered their names into each garment at night as they slept, laundering and preparing quietly. She put in photographs of herself and Peter, and of the 4 of them at her cousin's child's bar mitzvah. She added one of Peter and his father, and on the back she wrote, Paddy and Peter Bannon from Ballycreggan, Ireland. It might help them, who knew? They would be given tags with their names and a number to place around their necks, and a corresponding number would be placed on the suitcase. The children would be accompanied all the way to England, and she was assured they would be placed into the care of her husband's cousin once on British soil. The woman who organised the kinder transport was kind, if harassed-looking. Ariella knew what a wrench it was, but she also knew that Liesl and Erich were the lucky ones. They only got on because their father was gone, and because Nathaniel had pulled some strings. Liesl appeared at the door. She was so like Peter. It took her breath away sometimes. Dark hair and dark eyes and a slight build. She was so clever and so creative. She had been top of her class before all of this horror. Neither child had been to school for a long time. Their school was closed to Jews. Some feeble attempts were made at providing a Jewish school, but it was far away, and it wasn't safe for them to be out on the street, so Ariella kept them at home. She spent her days improving their English, and when they asked why they didn't do their French or Italian exercises as they always did, she said English was the best of all the languages. They read books, wrote stories, and played make-believe to build their already extensive vocabulary. Ariella had tried at the beginning to maintain their schoolwork, but in the face of everything that was happening it all seemed so pointless. So instead, she read them stories, and they drew pictures and played imaginary games. She tried to keep things somewhat normal, though in reality it was nothing of the sort. Mutti? Liesl asked. She was a perceptive child. She knew something was wrong. Ariella took a breath. She would have to do it.